Welcome to the Ecom Collab Club Podcast, where operators, risk takers, and battle-tested founders drop the lessons that cost them time, money, and their sanity, and share what actually works so you don't have to pay the same price. Hosted by Peter Gardner and Adam Pearce, founders of the Ecom Collab Club and Blend Commerce, the Shopify CRO agency, and proudly sponsored by OmniSend. Email and SMS marketing so good, it's boring.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and obviously massive welcome back to this week's edition of the Ecom Collab Club Podcast. So what is on the cards today? So obviously we have our wonderful guests I'm going to tell you a little bit more about in a moment. Then Peter and I are going to have a bit of a post-match debrief. And then what we're going to do after that then is give you some little highlights from the ECC London, which happened yesterday. So a lot of e-commerce brands collect customer data, but the thing for me is we've seen that very few actually know what to do with it. And what tends to happen is that there's hours and hours spent staring at dashboards, drowning loads of numbers, spreadsheets, and ultimately trying to guess what those strategies are that you're going to need to then move the needle. So what we want to do today is fix that. And what we are going to do is go deep into see how you look at qualitative data, not only to collect it, but equally as well, how do you then use that to then boost your conversion rates? Think about then how you personalize the customer journey, and equally as well, how do you get that average order value up and ultimately get those customers keep on coming back to you for life. And who better than a friend of the show and a friend of mine who I talk extensively about goats with, which we'll get into later, is Pedram Mehrshahi, who is the co-founder of KLORIS. And that's a brand that sells premium wellness products and has built a serious reputation in the game for turning customer insights into brand experiences that drive revenue.
Hey, retailers and e-commerce brands, this event is for you. Join us at Retail Fest 2025 on the sunny Gold Coast in Aussie from the 28th to the 30th May. You'll meet industry experts, network with fellow business leaders, and pick up simple yet effective strategies to grow your brand. Think of it as a relaxed chat with the best in the business where you'll leave with useful tips you can put into action straight away. Don't wait. Get your tickets now at retailglobal.com.au. Retail Fest 2025 is where the future of retail happens.
There he is. We got
good morning, guys.
Pedram on the call. Adam, I've got to always switch him out and make him go in the middle instead of you. Adam always wants to be the center of attention. I want to crack that joke every week as well.
It's true.
Pedram, thanks so much for jumping on with us today. I really do appreciate it. And before we get into the details, let's start with something slightly out of the ordinary. And everyone gives us normally the rehearsed LinkedIn style intro, but we want to flip that a bit and let's put in a bit of a scenario. So if we were at a dinner party and I asked you, how did you end up slogging it away in the e-commerce game? What's your answer?
Well, firstly, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Good question. So it started literally around a Sunday roast. With my other co-founder, Matt, and my partner, another co-founder, Kim. We had Matt, our friend, who's a very successful entrepreneur, runs his own Klaviyo agency. He was in Australia. He'd come over basically to have Sunday roast. We were talking about our parents, being in pain, being in, having certain health issues, as well as just being stressed ourselves, having sleep issues. And prior to that, I'd come across a compound called CBD because I was looking after my mum for several years and watched her go through, having to use opioids and steroids to help with her pain because she had a bit of a bad accident. So I'd come across this compound, speaking to my brother, who's an incredible plant scientist from Cambridge. We were discussing, how this could help getting her off a lot of the medication that she was on. And anyway, cut a long story short, we were speaking to Matt about the compound because he was telling us about his father struggling with a neurological condition in his legs and feet. And at the time, I had almost like a very crude prototype of a balm and like CBD oil, which I bought from like the States or Holland. And my brother had sent some from to the States when he was over there doing his PhD. And I'd found this compound from the hemp plant incredibly potent and powerful for my mum, and it helped transition her off a lot of the painkillers that she was on. But we just couldn't find a brand in the UK that's, you know, because we were literally buying other people's stuff, mostly from America and rest of the EU. So literally it was of personal needs and family needs. And I shared some with Matt. Matt found it incredibly transformational for his dad. He literally called us a couple of weeks later and he said, literally, what is this thing? Like, this is an opportunity we can actually, because we can't find something, can we start to actually work on something that we'd be happy to obviously use ourselves, but if it's having this much of an impact on your mom and my dad, and we were also using it for stress and sleep issues ourselves, and we found it incredible. And I was on, you know, antidepressants, other medication for, you know, ADHD, and again, I found it really beneficial for a lot of those symptoms. And that's where it came from, really. You know, I didn't have a background in e-commerce, but Matt did. And Matt was like, well, you've got the background in terms of like, you know, your brother's plant science credentials, you know, this compound, you know, I spent years in the research of like literally trying to source and find people in the UK as well, because also CBD was prohibited pre-2015, so no brands could really work or exist really prior to that. So that's where it started, you know, literally trying to help Matt's father, ourselves, and my mum, and not finding products that had sort of what's called COA, certificate of analysis, which shows you what's in the product, heavy metals, pesticides, things like that, because with a compound like CBD or hemp, it's a plant that's a bioaccumulator, so it accumulates toxins where it's in the environment it's grown. So those were the really critical things where we were like, well, if this is a product that we're using for ourselves and our family, we need to make sure it's clean. And that was the ethos that started KLORIS. We want to have a product that we're happy to share with our family, but also from the very early stages, what we could find was very much like that whole loads of cannabis leaves everywhere. So, you know, you can only really find it in head shops or, you know, that sort of, and it's like, well, my mom's not really going to walk around or, you know, with a, you know, a bottle or if we wanted to really scale this and bring it to market, people need to feel like confident in carrying something around that's also legal as well. Because, and then there still is, you know, a lot of products out there that have, you know, untested levels of THC or other compounds in there that people don't want to, you know, use or, you know, they can't use. So that's the story. It literally started from a point of personal and family needs, not finding products that you're happy enough to carry with you, and also is of good quality, has all the almost, you know, pharmaceutical level of testing done behind it as well. So yeah, that's how we started over a Sunday roast.
And other than that, I mean, look, that's the early doors qualitative, right? You're doing a bit of qualitative research with your friends and family. Was there, before you guys actually decided, okay, cool, let's actually go for this, was there any more qualitative element before you actually kickstarted that one?
Definitely. I mean, there was always this, like, from literally buying other brands or other products on the market, there was always this element of taste with CBD oil. It always has, you know, because a lot of it was blended with like hemp COs, like this bitter, unpalatable taste. Like, yeah, I mean, it tastes like literally eating, you know, bowl full of ash or whatever. You know, it was a very much a. That was one thing we were like, well, it's got to be a product that people are able to palate so that you can consistently use it, not just like, I'm going to have it once, this is disgusting. It's like eating broccoli when you're a kid. It's like, oh, I'm not going to, you know, it has to be a product that, you know, it accumulates over time as well. So like if we're using it, I might be all right with the flavor, but I know 90% of anyone who I presented this to or try to put them on, and the early stages before even KLORIS existed, like, it just tastes too harsh. So we worked out, you know, MCT oil carries the CBD compound really well. It's flavorless. It has a lot of its own beneficial properties, and that's how we blended. So we were like, okay, let's go for a good carrier oil, which also has good flavor profile. And the other things were, it was having zero synthetics, even preservatives, even in our balm. So that our balm is it's still one of our hero SKUs. But from the early days, we were very much inspired by, like, our topicals got to have that almost, it's as clean as what you put inside your mouth. The ingredients, it has to be almost like food for being absorbed through your skin effectively, supplements for the skin effectively, joints. And so those were, the things where speak to literally family and friends. Flavor, so you can continue to use it long term and, not feel like this is something unpleasant that I'm doing for my own health. And being able to be confident that what you're putting on your skin, going away from a lot of the petrochemical sort of balms and topicals and, a lot of your commercial creams and stuff that, full of paraffins and, effectively it's an unnatural product. So for us, it was always, our tagline was "Let nature love you." So it was like, everything has got to be, and that's what was resonating in the early days of asking questions.
So were you actively going out and asking strangers about this before you developed a product, or it's more like that we needed to go that way?
To be honest, because we were very much in the focus was family and friends. We did have like a pool of 20 people, and that was it at the start, because we were like, well, let's find 20 people that really are struggling with these things that we're currently struggling with. Let's see if they find it effective, if they find it palatable, if they find it easy to use. And we started with 2 products. It was literally the drops and the balm that we had. But our pool was very small at the beginning. And we were fanatic about it. And, we were very limited resources. But what we had was being able to get samples out and to the hands of the people that we had.
Yeah. And I noticed you're still giving away those samples to people like Mr. Adam over here.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But again, I always say, I want the feedback. I want real, you use it consistently and be honest, because that's what we've done from day one as well, is iterate. And what we'll discuss more is, like, when we get feedback from someone saying, oh, I find your balm sometimes a bit hard to use during the winter months, because naturally, when you got beeswax and coconut oil, etc., it hardens in transit, things like that, where we're or the edge of the patches sometimes for a lot of our demographic who are a little bit older, over 60, 70, finding it hard to peel the corners of the patches, giving that little bit of edge. So it's a consistent, I guess, questioning and iterating and often, you got a sample. And I always have that pool of people I trust who are fanatical about the brand or have benefited, and it's kind of like, well, you've tried this, how do you find, good sounders. Adam's always a great sounding board.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, and we were saying obviously before we went on air as well that I absolutely love your gummies, and I want to a bit of a side question here, Pedram. I guess one of the things that I'm kind of getting from you here is, because obviously the business was started on that basis of trying to help your family members, is that something you think that then is still etched in your mind when you're thinking about product development now? Because, that was one thing I was curious of, does that give you more drive in terms of product development to find out and ask those questions because it came from you trying to solve that problem, a personal problem in the sense in the first place?
100%. I mean, the missions always remain the same, and that's where we've built our pillars as well. Now, if you go on our website, you can see the pillars that we've built, and it's the mission. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my mum is still a bit of a guinea pig for me and family, because naturally as well, we've seen our brand, like a lot of, 55, 60% of our customers are female or over a certain age, where they're also a little bit more experienced in wellness as well, and we find that I do speak to customers every single day, and a lot of them are parents, mums, grandparents, who have almost gone through, especially women as well, but really think what their bodies have to go through compared to men, especially if they're kids. but also, you know, post-menopause, where they are struggling with lots of aches, pains, sleep disorders. And those were the things that I saw in my mum and, you know, aunties and, you know, uncles and stuff as well with sleep disorders, especially. But the sort of aches and pains and discomfort that you physically get as you know, age or go through any sort of physical traumatic events, those were the things that I was witnessing in my mum, and Matt was, for example, witnessing in his father, where we were like, to this day as well, we are still steered by that mission of still helping that pool of people who have become like almost look to us as being, I mean, I've got to be very careful, as like kind of the natural alternative to a lot of the pharmaceuticals that they've almost struggled with the side effects of, or been impacted by long-term use of, you know, whether it's opioids or steroid-based painkillers or your melatonin, you know, medicines through to zopiclones, etc., for sleep disorders. So that's where we've tried to sort of consistently state that mission statement and ethos of why we started it, how we started it, and how can we still continue to have that being translated to the end customer and user. And almost to be honest, I've always seen ourselves as being like a service provider of natural goodness, you know, and but operating in terms of testing and transparency to almost pharmaceutical standards.
I mean, I think, you know, for me, like thinking of, obviously we're going to be talking about sort of the qualitative data side of things today. And I think one thing that I often find is a lot of brands are quite fearful about asking questions to their audience and to their customers. And it kind of strikes me that, you know, in your guys' position, because it kind of came from that personal conviction and that trying to actually solve a personal problem, you probably don't have those shackles that other people do, because you came into it with that view of like, we're here to help. And that's kind of what you've done. And I think, you know, we bang on a lot in e-commerce about the kind of quantitative numbers, you know, add to cart and traffic and conversion rate and AOV and all that stuff. But I think on the other hand, if you think about those brands that are kind of saying, well, look, we're looking at this already, but actually we've thought about qualitative data in this way, but they often misunderstand it. What do you think is the kind of the biggest misconception most of the brands about asking those questions or using qualitative data? What do you think is a stumbling block for them?
I think it's a mixture of how effectively can you apply your findings from qualitative data. So it depends on the product. Like for us, for example, when someone, you know, when I speak to someone and say, you know, what's the barrier to repurchasing? For example, our balm always been a, you know, hero SKU for us, but we had a period where there were slight again, due to temperature changes when we've resolved this, but because we make those in small batches, a couple of customers were saying, you know, when it's cold, it's difficult for us to scoop it out, or, you know, there's a slight bit of granulation. We worked on the formula very quickly and implemented that onto the next batch, and we managed to get that changed relatively quickly. But the barrier, I think, for a lot of brands is, okay, but you get all this amazing insight and feedback, but how do you implement it? And it depends on your customer type as well. Like we know our demographic, again, and we know some of them have difficulty even reading their website or the packaging and things like that, where you really, it's also there. I think for us, picking up the phone is still one of the main ways of getting real quality information that gets missed on an email, or when you send out a quiz. Again, I'm talking from our customer base, but they might find that actually their difficulty with using technology. You know, I speak to 83, 84-year-old customers on a daily basis, you know, and they constantly is like, you know, struggling, literally applying an order, something goes wrong at checkout. So it's really working out even our font sizes, things like that. And that comes from direct conversation, because you might send an email out and asking, you know, give us your feedback on this, or you have a quiz. But again, that person might not be able to reply to an email, you know, because they might not have the computer, or literally I'm speaking to a customer, they're like, my laptop's off charge and I don't know how to charge it up. So I've called you up, and we always have a phone line there that, it goes to voicemail, but we try and get back to people with it. But it is literally things like that where it's being able to implement qualitative data. I mean, with quantitative, you've got the numbers there, so you kind of see patterns, and you can implement it. But certain things with qualitative data require also, if you're a brand that maybe you've already committed to a 5,000 unit run of something, and someone's then telling you, I don't like this, and we've done a big research piece on it, it's going to take you maybe 6 months or something to be able to implement that change. So for us, it's very unique because there are formulas. We don't do, we're able, with the labs and the manufacturers that we use, to do small numbers so changes can be implemented quickly from the point of it being raised with us.
So it sounds like to me like what you're saying is that ultimately it's almost that fear that it's going to break a wider process if you ask too many questions. And I think, what I'm getting from you there, like you say, you mentioned those sort of talking to those customers. For me, that's a sign that you are thinking of yourselves as a service provider rather than the product. And I think sometimes, there's this perception that a product is kind of this transactional relationship, where actually the ones, now I think post-COVID, there is an expectation that brands are more than that, and that you actually get more value than just actually sort of shipping the product. I mean, I think, when you think about the different ways that obviously you can reach out to customers or getting information from customers in that sort of qualitative form, do you think there's any particular areas, any particular things that maybe you guys are doing that you don't see many of the people doing, or you think that there's an area where most brands sort of miss out on key bits of information?
Honestly, and this is me because I've still committed to speaking to pretty much every customer, even though it takes up a lot, but it is so valuable, is phone calls. And this is what we do regularly, is like, you pick your top 20, 30, or even 50 VIP customers. These are people who have, been with you for 3-4 years, or however long you've been going, but pick those who've, committed, they're your super fans. They use your product devoutly, and speak to them directly, and do it regularly as well, because I think you can become a bit like lax with, okay, they're subscribed, but it's in those interactions where you're speaking to someone, because there could be something deeper as well, in terms of, even if a product's not working, if someone's, we see, okay, you've stopped your subscription, you've been a subscriber for 24 months and you've already stopped it. That's where you really gauge, because someone also on an email or on a quiz might not give you that extra bit of like, a product's not working, but when you're on a call, they might not want to, in a written format, tell you about their overall lifestyle. So when I, for example, speak to a customer, we're going, okay, we're using our products in the right manner, and they've sort of messaged, say, oh, it's not working, I'm stopping my subscription. But I'm like, okay, well, what are the other things that is going on in your life as well? And obviously, I'm not a medical professional, but things around diet, exercise, just the basic things. And for them, they're like, yeah, well, I am in front of my screen 3 hours before I go to bed. So, and I'm like, well, our patch it's a tool, but it will only help. And you wouldn't get that maybe in a conversation, because someone opens up. And again, it's dependent on the customer group as well. Like, again, speaking for ourselves, when I'm speaking to someone who is, especially post-COVID, we found this, where there was a lot of isolation going on. A 75-year-old or an 80-year-old customer, I can be on the phone with them for 45 minutes. But I've also built a community there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we've really found, and I can, honestly say, because the community building things is a big thing with all brands at the moment, and, really being able to, have loyalty. But again, that comes from, really understanding and having that, literally someone hearing your voice. We get the amount of people we get, actually, you've called back. You've called us back, and I'm thank you. And it's like, well, did other people don't? Well, yourself when you call, unless they're a massive corporation where you've got call centers everywhere else, then they really appreciate that we're a British company and you're literally speaking to one of the founders. That's the other thing as well I found. I mean, I don't think I'll be able to scale this, long term, but long term, I mean, we're also thinking of, really training our team members to be able to represent us, as well as in terms of, because for me, the brands that I buy from are the ones that I'm able to have a dialogue, whether it's with a founder or someone within their sort of group that can talk to me and guide me through. And that's what customers want. I got a starting point, which is your website, or an advert, they come through, let's say, you've got Meta, you go onto website. But after that, it's okay, you've got your follow-up email funnel. But what goes beyond that? What's the other layer? And if you've only got to go back 15 years ago, where you were literally speaking to someone or going into a store, and again, having our retail store in London, that has really given us incredible insights. Because with our Meta ads, people do come into the store because they're like, we've got that one-to-one with you, and you're an actual physical person, and you're not a faceless brand.
It sounds like, in a way, what you're saying here is, to me, rather than trying to go surface level on loads and loads of different ways of collecting qualitative data or getting feedback, basically have a smaller pot in which you draw from, but then go deeper inside of each of those. Because
absolutely, because you can have 20 of your, let's say, find you 20 VIPs from your last 2 months worth of sales, reach out to them, and you probably get the analysis and the qualitative data you get from that is probably worth 3-4 months worth of any other data you can extract from, because and it is stripping it back. It's like you can do so much work in the back end, but effectively you're trying to tell someone to use your formula, your product, whatever it is, long term, or to keep coming back. And they've got to understand, well, why your product, and convince me to come back, and convince me that you care about me coming back, and you're not just bothered about a transaction. And you're not going to get that with, you will get it with the emails, but I think from a real understanding and depth, and the type of business you are. Like I mentioned, we are service providers, and that part of that service I would like from any health and wellness company is to speak to people who you're saying you're an authority on this. Well, convince me, and be the authority. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, Peter, I can't hear you.
That wonderful moment when you forget to unmute yourself.
That's all right. Yeah.
Pedram, so I think a lot of brands, this is what we found, and a lot of brands collect qualitative data. But the problem is they're doing it because they think they should. They run the surveys, they track the reviews, they ask for feedback, but ultimately that just ends up just collecting dust on a spreadsheet. And they get it, but they don't know what to do with it. Now, you guys at KLORIS, and this stems you actually doing these phone calls, which is 100% the best thing to be doing. It's just getting on that call and having a call with people. How do you guys actually turn those insights that you are getting from qualitative data into actual profit, not just on your product research, but maybe with how you're then taking that information onto your website and using it to sell more products?
Great question. So the first thing, we did, speak to customers, and, getting those regularly asked questions or pain points is turn them into video content. So we use video-wise. If you go on our website, you see, almost we've taken the FAQ section and turned it into relatable video content, because then people have got that touch point with your face, and it's there, it's evergreen, and we can tweak it at any point. Making change. So that for us is educational content. So I'm asking, I'm speaking to people, they're telling me the problems and telling me, how you can resolve it. And and there's always a bit of a theme with a lot of the conversations I have as well. So it's then we put that into a pool. We get AI to then give us some insights of how to then present that, and then we record the content. And that's where we spend a bulk of the last sort of 2 years, is being on-site video educational content, and then doing blogs, educative content, blogs, videos. And making the user experience on the website. If someone's telling you my eyesight is poor, I can't read this, or I have difficulty with your cart, that's where we've implemented, or even newsletters, like, where we, sending out educational newsletters, etc. Again, people finding it difficult from literally the font, things being bold, but it depends on your customer, obviously. For us, it's about explaining things as simply and not bamboozling the customer, because effectively they just want to know, is it going to help my pain? Is it going to help my sleep? Is it going to reduce my stress? And it's simplification, I think. It's taking all that qualitative data, any data, and making your point of sale, whether it's your website or your store, as easy to understand for the customer. So, and that can be a range of, educational content, video, written content, through to inserts as well. So, that identifies certain insights. Also, a lot of our customers, for example, I mean, we've scaled back on the discounts side of things, because for us, it's a big thing where we don't want to get into that, because our products and ingredients are premium, and all these things that a lot of other brands don't do, we do, and that adds to the margin. So we for us, it's well, how can we, for example, increase conversion, but also reduce, increase the margin, and that's through a lot of gift with purchase. So someone will say to me, I've been using your patches or your drops, but I'm really interested in your balm, and but I just don't know how to. So we then sort of personalize that into, okay, well, maybe we should go on a sort of gift with purchase of our balm, of a travel size balm with other products, and that then we see then conversion and retention, and for something totally that they weren't using before then get applied. So it's giving people all through education, to be honest.
I love how you went the gifting route instead of discounts. Last week I was ranting about why discount. So it's great that you're going for.
Well, it's discounts as well. I mean, you do have. I mean, we do have it in certain flows, but overall, when you go on our website, you're not getting this like straight away. Here you go, discount. Value and efficacy should be your converting points rather than discount, because you start on a discount, it's what are you already saying? But also for us, bundling, that's where you get your discounts, or subscription. Bundling and subscription is be long term,
Yes, Pedram, I absolutely love this.
Yeah.
We're definitely on the same side there.
Yeah. Because effectively as well, when I'm talking to myself as a customer, if I'm going to a brand that is consistently, I'm discounting from the off, I'm always going to be looking at a brand for that discount. Also, or like there's companies where, if you look at an incredible mushroom company, Hifasitera, they never run any discounts because they are so confident in their products that I need it like I would go and, buy a bottle of milk. I'm not looking for a discounted milk product because it's like, I need that, or a healthy food. I'm not always on because it's like, this is stuff that is, and it depends again on the brand and the product, obviously, but this is stuff that is to help your health, longevity, and well-being. And if it's you as a brand are showing discounts, then it's like, well, for me immediately, it's like, well, what is the quality and the starting point? Because if you're happy to discount 20, I mean, we get emails from like even competitors like 40%, 50% discount. I'm like, your ingredient can't be that cheap. Like, so it immediately gives me suspicion as a customer when I'm being hounded by discounts from the off. Not to say later down the chain when you reward your customers with but again, our rewards referral program is where you can get discount as well. Be part of the community, share the value and results you found, and we'll, help you in that way. But if give a purchase and bundles for us is because we want people to not just try one product. We want you to see the value of incorporating our systemic and topical products into your overall health and well-being daily rituals.
Yeah. But just going back to more of the qualitative side, how do you separate the noise and the signaling that you're going to be getting from those calls, from the ones that are actually, how do you go, okay, this is great bit of qualitative data, or hey, this is such left field, this is only one person, we can never accommodate that type of request?
That's a great question. I think we always start analyzing the data we get back. Does it improve the efficacy of the products? Is there, like what they're saying, does it improve the products or the ease of use? Yeah. And then we weigh that against brand vision and our own sort of ethos and business impact. Will it, boost, and whether it aligns with our sort of best customers' value? Because I might speak to 1 or 2 customers, but does it align with the 30 other customers who've given other feedback? And then it's basically, for us, it's mostly around, does it improve the efficacy of the products, the ease of use of it, and can we then apply that into the products as well? Can we improve formulations or packaging or messaging, and will that also resonate with our overall brand mission, which is so far 7 years in, seen us get to this stage without it completely, because again, for us, our ethos, we're firm believers in the ethos. And again, like you mentioned, Adam, from the start, does it still drive? Yes, it absolutely does. So all of this data still has to come back to, our brand values. But effectively, I mean, we're an efficacy-based business. So does it make their products more effective and make it easier to use? And that's both product and website and packaging, everything that encompasses it all.
Pedram, you touched on something pretty interesting there. How are you balancing that? You're obviously going out and you're getting a lot of feedback from people. Now, when you get to a point where you go, okay, cool, this feedback is valid, it's from our best customers, this is really something we're going to listen to. And you go, well, hold on here, but our brand vision, not your ethos, let's say your brand vision of where you want to take the business, was strongly going in a different direction. How do you balance those two? Are you going, we have to now go and listen to that customer, or we're like, let's be a little bit more stubborn here and stick with our vision? And has there been a time when you've had to make a decision like
that? Very good question. I mean, obviously we kind of have a good gist of, because it all comes down to the science as well, because a customer might be saying one thing, but like one example of it is where it was successful and we've implemented it is like a lot of our customers were using our sleep patches, for example. They were using 2 of them to get really quality. So we were like, well, a lot of them are reporting they're finding 1 beneficial, but if they're really struggling with sleep, then they're using 2. Why don't we just actually up the dose of the patch so they don't have to put 2 patches? So we upped the dose of CBD, and that one doubled it. So it was like equals to 2 patches, and that's been transformational. And the other things, I mean, for example, our balm, whilst it's like, one of our best selling products, it's a hemp balm. So it naturally has a sort of hempy smell to it, but we've not deviated. We have quite a few customers, throughout the month said, oh, it smells like hemp. I'm like, well, it's a hemp balm. It's going to have a hemp stuff. And they're like, oh, can you change the smell to lavender or something a bit more floral? We're like, we can't now, because a lot of the benefits come from the terpenes, the essential oil that is from the hemp in the balm. And that is a no, unfortunately. You can't deviate from that. Or, for example, our packaging for our patches are all biodegradable. That is a thing where we're like, packaging is a big thing for us, and biodegradability is a big thing for us. But we, for example, with our bath salts, when we brought them out, and this is actually qualitative data from our hotel partners, spa partners, where they were like, your packaging, we got them in these biodegradable pouches. Can we make those plastic or whatever? But it's not. But no, because our ethos is do good and leave no harm, trace of harm. We're a natural company, but we can't really be like, oh yeah, it's benefiting me as a human being, but it's leaving a trace. That's crap. So that was a thing where we were like, you're giving us this feedback, but we can't implement it, because unless until there's, for example, a packaging that is biodegradable, that can hold and also is breathable. With our bath salts, they've got a effervescent, I don't know if how you pronounce it, but it's a fizzing. They fizz. They're a bath salt that goes, we can't put it in a tub, for example, because the lid will blow off. So we have to have it actually in a biodegradable, the coffee pouches where there's got a little valve to breathe. So those are things, we get given that feedback because, it'll look nicer on a shelf in a plastic jar or a glass jar. But environmentally, it doesn't sit with us because of the weight. And secondly, if it's going to have plastic in it, it's not really. So those are the things. We kind of, the vision for us is to be a sustainable, ethical company, a natural wellness company.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever had a request for, or anything that's made you going, wow, like, how do we do that? Or
I wouldn't say weird, but it's good question. Have we had any weird? It's, to be honest, it's nothing weird. It's always around flavors. Like people want certain things around. With our gummies, for example, can they be different flavors? And again, we're looking at that. That is one piece of, because someone's like, I just don't like hemp or lime flavor in our gummies. That's what's the natural flavor in. But again, it's trying to, I'm looking at implementing a more of a mixed flavor range in our gummies. But we don't have too many crazy requests. It's usually around flavors or scents, which again is very perceptive to the person. So again, those are, I might have 5 people saying I don't like the smell of hemp, but everyone else is, well, it's bloody effective, and we know it's effective because of those ingredients in there. So it's always a bit of a tug and.
But I think that's it, isn't it? And I think that's, like you say, you've got to also be sensible about this because Peter and I have done this in the past. When clients have asked for or said certain things, and I think when you're a little bit earlier on within a business, you just want to please everyone, and you soon shit the bed if you try and do that. We certainly did a number of times. We've taken on projects that we shouldn't have taken on, or we've said that we would want to do certain things that we really shouldn't have because it either goes against kind of our principles, or it goes against what we're actually really good at. And so something that I guess is sort of, I'll ask that question, sort of anything that's weird that happened. One of the weird things for me in e-commerce is personalization, because I think it's important, and I think it's really great when it's done usefully. And I had a big rant about this last week about, this whole bullshit around, hey, Adam, in an email is personalization. Oh, bollocks, it's not. But when you guys do this very well, and you obviously focus on giving that personalized experience. We talked a bit about that already. When you look out there for brands that you see, you don't have to name them, but is there anything out there in personalization you go, why the hell are you doing it that way? Or what planet are you on when it comes to the kind of things that you're putting out there to try and give people that personalized experience?
Definitely. I think there's a lot of gimmicks instead of actually like improving the customer experience or sort of giving like sort of value driven personalization. And that's where I think for us, we do the automated name, and that's just standard. You do
it's actually just what you do now.
It's just, but everyone knows that's a computer, that's just automated message. So, and I think e-commerce brands have been going for so long now that that's become a standard. But I think for us, again, it's personalization comes from seeing your purchasing habits, and again, adopting maybe the gift with purchase as a relevant to individual customer need personalization that we look at. And that's something we do look at. So this person, has had a subscription with us for X amount of time, and finding the segments of similar customers, and maybe, doing a run of gift with purchase, or if someone is buying, for example, a sampler pack or a bundle of certain things for paying, we'll include something that may be out of what they were initially going for, but could be related, and almost building the follow-up post-purchase flow to sort of highlight our suggestion for them, or if they want to do an add-on to cart later once they've made a post-purchase sort of follow-up sale. That's where we'd really get the personalization in line rather than a gimmicky, and that's where we've really done a deep dive in those post-purchase flows or add-ons, upsells. That's where it's really got to be like, okay, we can see you've sort of clicked on our pain and recovery pillar and you've gone for the bundle, which contains the drops, the balm, and the patches. But potentially you could also, is add-on of our bath salts, which also contain magnesium, other ingredients that aren't in your bundle. And that's where we see the personalization happen based on quiz and product choices from the off.
Because I actually want to pick you up on that, Pedram, okay, about the quiz, because I know obviously you mentioned you guys, I think we're using Octane AI on site.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that we're a big fan of it. I guess the thing with Octane and with quizzes on site is there is an initial perception that is going to be very gimmicky. And I think if you don't do it right, it can be very gimmicky. What do you do then with that quiz that prevents you coming across as gimmicky? Like, what are the key bits you use in it to then, I suppose, sort of, personalize the journey on the site? Sure.
But I mean, we're very detailed in the quiz, like age, how have you used our product? Have you used CBD, for example? How, if you have used CBD, how often, how many months, what products, what are you struggling with? And that the quiz is almost like holding your hand through, rather than just trying to extract data. It's actually, it's part of the process of building the trust point from the off, and then following up, whether they leave an email, to get the personalized recommendation, following up with them, or they immediately just straight away, just they're already in their head, like, okay, I feel a lot more confident that they've asked me about my age, asked me if I've used this product before, asked me what my experience had been if I had used it before, and here's your personalized recommendation or bundle or, product offering that we're offering with. But then we do a follow-up on an email as well, just to really sort of drive that messaging of trust, because you may walk away, think about it for a week, go and do your own research, but then it's all in the flow of even with the quiz, it's really enabled us, the quiz itself, to also develop the follow-on email sort of purchase, even if they don't purchase, it's just education. And we do find that even if you're not buying within the first week or 2 weeks, we see from the return rate that, people just want a bit of time as well, because they'll go away, do a bit of research, then they'll email us, to be honest, usually. It's like, can you just give me a little bit more info? I've gone through your quiz. I've received your emails. They'll reply back to the emails and the post in the flow, and then they just want that little bit of extra. But it's sorry, I waffled on there. But in terms of it's I think that's my point on there. Sorry, my brain.
No, that's great, and I think it's an important thing to note on quizzes that, like you said there, don't just focus on it as converting people right then. Most of the value is in that follow-up process and then the personalization, the email marketing.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Peter, I think we're going to go and have a little break for a sec.
Do you sell stuff online? Then you need OmniSend. Yes, that OmniSend. The powerful yet refreshingly intuitive email and SMS tool that helps you make $73 on average for every dollar spent. Like watching steady lines go up and up and up? Just automate your email and SMS campaigns with OmniSend. Set it up once, then sit back and watch the sales roll in while you snooze. You're still awake? Then go to omnisend.com/ECC. Give OmniSend a try and start getting sales so steady they'll definitely put you to sleep. Don't forget to use code ECC30 for a 30% discount.
Pedram, so we're coming to the end, towards the end, and before we go into a Q&A session where any of the audience can ask some questions, just got a couple of closing sort of shorter questions. If you're a brand just starting out or somebody that hasn't really considered qualitative data and what it can do for you, if they had 1 hour this week to do something that would actually move the needle, what should they do?
call your 20 to 50 already customers, and listen to their sort of service interactions and note recurring themes. And to be honest, your customers are already telling you sort of how to improve. A lot of brands just aren't listening on some fronts, but I think it's I know I'm a bit old school with this, and maybe it's right for our business, but is call your customers, speak to people. I think people really, again, and I know I've harped on about this, is especially post-COVID, it really gave people a bit of a jolt in human connection. And for us as well, again, the experience we've taken on from having a physical store, we've been able to take, face-to-face, speaking to humans directly. I'd say that your customers are there, and they're happy to tell you how to improve if they're not happy, or if they're not coming back to you.
It works on so many levels though as well, because you're getting that first-hand raw information that you can then dig deeper on if you're finding that like going down a good direction for you. But you're also getting, like you mentioned earlier, that community building element, and you're building up that trust between the two of you. And they're going, hey, the founder just called me. I just bought some CBD. Founder called me, had a chat with me. Geez, okay, yeah, I'll buy for them again. And it's almost like a retention strategy at the same point.
I treat it like a retention strategy, because also AI, you have to remember how scary AI is for a lot of customers now more than ever. You see AI ads coming in, influencers that are AI generated. It's only going to get more and more almost twisted from a customer's point of view in terms of what's real, who's real, what are they trying to sell, is that authentic? That's where I think, if you have got that ability or willingness, and it is awkward sometimes talking to people because we're awkward creatures, but they and you, I think once you've engaged, boy, do they, you find people are wanting to speak, wanting to engage, and almost want you to give them the trust that they didn't have from a non-human interaction, I guess. And I think old school.
Yeah.
Old school. Speak to people. Just speak to people, and it is simple. It's just speak to people. You're an online business, but your end product is, especially if you're a physical, customer goods brand, your product's physical. It's getting into someone's hand, and that is, unless you're drop shipping and you've made it all yourself, and you're a real brand, and you real products, it means so much more, and there's a longevity that you can't buy from just messages,
That's awesome.
Just on as in like digital messages. I think people have forgotten how to hear human voices in real life, in a live format, and I think we owe it as well as brand owners to customers in whatever capacity is to engage with them on a real level.
Yeah, I think you probably find a lot of people are still a little bit nervous to pick up that call because maybe there's negative connections when they make that call. How often do you get someone go, please don't phone me?
We have it, but what we found is, and again, having a phone line that allows people to leave messages because a lot of brands actually don't have a phone line on or it goes to like an obsolete, but it's we do get people who the thing is, no, actually we don't get that many because we give them a heads up. We communicate with them first. Are you happy for us to give a call? And overall, honestly, I can say there's been maybe one or two people that over the years that have been off, but majority want you to help them. So especially if you've took their money for a product, you've got a responsibility and duty to follow that up if you're wanting to, and if you want to still have them, or even if they're saying I'm never buying from you ever again, it's like, well, at least I know. Maybe that's just like a weird thing. I want to know why you didn't, and because I believe in this so much. So what was it that didn't work for you? And that's the why. It's the why is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, humans unless you're catching somebody on a very bad day, humans are, we're hardwired to help. And, that is the thing that people are going to remember. And if you do catch somebody on a bad day when you're having those calls, it's just going like, it's not you, the person, something's happened. And ultimately, we've just got to back off here and just go.
Absolutely.
Cool. I think we've got a couple of questions from the audience. Let's bring this one up. It's quite loaded from Rich Evans. In your professional opinion, Pedram, who would you say is the better skincare routine out of Peter Gardner and Adam Pearce, CRO for Shopify brands? So was he pulling through your whole LinkedIn title?
To be honest, you guys you're both flawless in terms of your skin. You're glowing, and you're so I'd say some, I'd say it's an equal equal race at the moment. But I'll send you both some face cream just to elevate it even more. Why is he trying to say something, Rich? I mean,
he did also comment this as well, Pedram, that he loves KLORIS. He took some home yesterday from his trip to the shop. So nice little fist pump and plug for you there too.
Yeah, thank you. We'll take those.
Just before you go, we got a couple of other little questions that as quick, straight, whatever comes to your brain first. Just quick little shoot ones. What's one thing e-commerce brands need to stop doing immediately?
Giving too many discounts away.
Yes. Love it. What's the most underrated customer feedback channel?
Telephone.
If you could track one type of customer insight, what would it be?
Ooh. If you track one type of customer insight, what would it be? Good question. What if you could track one type of customer insight? What would it be? Reason not to buy, I guess.
That's a goodie. I like that. What's a recent aha moment from a bit of customer data that surprised you?
So recent customer aha moment from. Our pain and recovery patches, a lot of our older customers finding the edge, and we didn't pick this up because, I'm still relatively nimble with my fingers, but they find it difficult to peel back some of the CBD patches, and we increased the edge and we were like, actually, that really makes sense if you can't get your fingernail underneath the corner of something. So we worked to increase the edge. So that was an aha. I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but that was because a lot of people were saying, or they're buying for their grandparents or parents or whatever. And they were like, the only difficulty they have is peeling off the patches. So they're having to support the patch. So we worked to increase the edge on the patch to make it easier to lift off.
And that 100% you would have never known that if you weren't picking up the phone.
We didn't think about it because we were thinking of it because I was peeling it off and I was like, it works. But for the people who were actually buying it, they were finding it incredible. That was stopping them using it regularly because they were just getting frustrated. And when you're frustrated, you're in pain and you're in, you've got arthritis in your fingers and the things that you're looking to use the product for, and you actually find I actually can't peel it off and put it. So that was one thing that was actually, okay, we didn't think of that.
Awesome. One last one for you here. What's one myth about qualitative data that needs to die?
What's one myth about qualitative data that needs to die? That the cost. I don't know. I don't think there's any myth. I mean, again, I don't think there is. What would be a myth about qualitative data? Can you guys? What is a myth about qualitative data?
I think for me, it's like the perception that, look, it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to analyze. It's very difficult to implement. Yes, on a larger scale, I think maybe there is something in that, but you can do it at different levels to go deeper in the way that you did. And I think you've shown that very eloquently today in terms of what you've talked about and how you do it.
And I think it doesn't need to be this mass thing. You can literally segment it. And I think you treat it as prioritizing, what needs actually immediate action and is it impacting our best-selling SKU? And because I think, you can't have this like, we're going to get everyone's views on everything and then go at it. I think it needs to be, you maybe start off small. Doesn't need to be this massive thing. It just needs to be like, incremental.
If I had to answer this question, and I think, Pedram, you've 100% myth busted this one, is that premium brands shouldn't bother their customers. And, that's ultimately, you got
100% should. You can have the most premium luxury looking brand, but still, if people are only coming back, especially if it's a daily health and wellness product brand, if they're not coming back to you regularly, then there is no myth. You need to be getting onto the why they're not, and you can have the most beautiful. I think that's actually more that you need to find out about customer. It depends, obviously. If it's a jewelry or whatever brand, then I guess it's a little bit different.
Cool. Well, Pedram, mate, thank you so much for joining us today. And people obviously want to find out more about KLORIS, online and in person. What do they need to do?
www.kloris.co. Our store is in Soho, just off Carnaby Street, 13 Newburgh Street. Instagram, all the usual handles, KLORIS CBD. My name is Pedram Mehrshahi. Come and find me on LinkedIn. But yeah, KLORIS.co is where you'll find us. We're in a lot of hotels and spas, Six Senses, Nobu, Bulgari, around the globe as well. So yeah, come on our journey with us.
I'm sure Nathan Lomax will see next time he's in Nobu. It's his kind of place for that kind of money to spend.
Oh, really? Okay. Excellent. He can take us out.
Absolutely.
Pedram, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Really appreciate it. This has been, it's like an oil reserve of information that you've just busted myths here and shown everybody that they really should be doing this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and really appreciate you guys. Respects.
Take care, Pedram.
Good day. Take care. Bye.
What an absolute legend. I love everything that he said today.
Well, he cut through the bullshit, didn't he? Let's face it. And I think the thing that I was thinking about there in my mind is like this word of qualitative data, this multisyllabic word. Ultimately, if you break it down, what is it? It's asking customers, what do they think? What makes them happy? What doesn't make them happy?
Yeah.
And that's all it is on very different scales.
Yeah.
And he showed us
Talk to your customer.
Yeah. Simples.
Yeah. But I just love the fact that he's just using it everywhere, and it's like it's religiously talking to your customer. And he's taking, you've got so many tools that you can do this things with him. And we obviously there's value in all those tools because you can do it at scale. But when you don't need to do it at scale, and you've got a brand that is so reliant on information, you've got to be informative. Well, you've got to be informative to the right things that they need to know. So therefore, get on a call. Get on a call and ask them, what didn't you understand on our website? What are you struggling with? Why haven't you bought from us yet? Or, you have bought from us, but how do we get you to come back again? It's just absolute gold.
Because I think, the thing for me is it's like all those conversations that they have, and I know they do this already, is like from that then, there is so much then you can do off the back of that in terms of tweaking your email messaging, FAQs, on-site search recommendations, videography. There is, you really, you think at the time you would spend on maybe kind of a quantitative tool or trying to sit there and sort of mine through data from a quantitative point of view, the time it would take actually would probably be a heck of a lot longer. Because in terms of understanding then what you would need to implement off the back of it, that would probably be quite a significant process. If the customer is telling you what they need to see, like you said, what happened with the product, in terms of the curvature of those stickers, things like that, you can literally get going with it immediately. So in a way, I think you sort of talked about busting myths there. He busts that myth about the fact that qualitative collation needs to be something that takes a significant amount of time to get a result, and he showed it doesn't.
Yeah. But I mean, he's showing that it's driving it so closely to their vision, and they've got to go and do that data, that they've got to use that information to help them drive their vision as well. And it's just like, you know, you a lot of us have been there, that we run businesses and you go, cool, this is the great thing to do, let's do this, but you don't get any signals. And if you don't get signals, you could be going the wrong direction for a hell of a long time before you go, well, that was the wrong thing to do. And then all you had to do was talk to your customers right at the beginning and be like, okay, that's the way we should be doing this. But you know, you touched on the quant side versus the qualitative side. Quantitative gives you the clues. Quantitative gives you the clues. Qualitative gives you the proof. You know, if you're finding little bits of information from your quantitative data, you do. Look, I'm not bashing quantitative data at all. It's very important. Get the information, find what's giving you the clues there, but then take that information and your hypothesis, go out and go, hey, you guys are my great customers. We're finding this. Is this what you guys are doing as well? Before you even go and try and A/B test that thing on site, you're going to save yourself on development time, wasted time running an A/B test. And, you know, you're going to find out so much more information from your customer. They go, no, that's not a problem. And you go, well, why is the data telling us? Oh, it could be X, Y, or Z thing. And you go, you know, penny drop moments. Okay, that's what's happening right now.
Yeah. Because I think, you know, he mentioned, obviously, you know, he talked, obviously, the customer feedback, the emails, the use of the quiz on the site, the personalization of that. Thinking from your point of view, what else would you know, if we were consulting with him, what else would you tell him to do based on what you know about KLORIS and what they do from that sort of qualitative point of view?
I think, and I was poking around on the site a little bit earlier, I love the fact that they're listening to their customers going, demographic, got to change the UX of the website, going to make things bigger, text bigger, all of those things. I think the one thing that did sort of stick out was the ability to use more of your customer's language. And, you know, I scrolled through, I saw a couple of reviews in there, and somebody said they've got MS. Great little review. I've actually got it open right now. I have MS and I have pain in many areas. Kind of long story short, it went, I didn't know whether this would work, but decided to try. It has made such a difference. The pain is minimized, which has helped me sleep. If you go and take that little paragraph, little extract, and you put that at the top of your product page, just underneath the title, that little bit of information that you got your customer's voice, somebody that's got an issue, and if that's a big, we would have to dig in a lot deeper to find out, is that somebody that's regularly shopping on the site? You know, is that somebody that's like 80% of the demographic? And you go, yeah, this person, if somebody reads this, they identify with every single one of these, didn't know if it would work. Cool, there's somebody that's just written that on their review. Bonus points, add their picture, add their name. You know, jobs are good, and you're going to sell a hell of a lot more on that point. I
think I will take that and paraphrase it, because you could do also you could shorten that and even put that below the call to action button and do that as an A/B test. Yep,
100%. You know, but I just love the fact that they've got, and we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks, using their user-generated content. They're using it on their product page. I love it.
Wow. Isn't that a revolutionary idea that everyone doesn't use?
Good. Yeah, so good.
So good to hear.
Yeah. No, look, I think Pedram is smashing it. You know, they're not just sitting on it. I did ask the question earlier. There are a lot of brands that are sitting on this oil well, just like it's an oil reserve, and they're going, okay, cool, we do it, but what do we do? You know, like NPS surveys. Yeah, we've got an NPS survey. But what are you doing? You're just looking and going, at the end of it, you go, okay, cool, I'm taking almost the quantitative side of it, going, I get on average a score of 8. Okay, cool, but what question did you ask those people that filled that out afterwards to figure out why they gave you an 8? Why they're not giving you a 10? If somebody gave you a 2, what question you're asking them at that point to figure out why their experience on the site was terrible? You know, that's a lot of people are just sitting there going, tick box, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this, but then they don't follow through and do the rest of it. That actually is the thing that moves the needle. And you know what happens? They end up bad-mouthing the actual tool.
Yeah.
Don't bad-mouth it because you're not using it to its full extent.
I agree. And I think, the other thing that I was thinking about, mate, is I think the key difference and the way, where we heard Pedram talk then, the way that he thinks about the mechanics of the business is because of that thing he said right at the start about thinking of themselves as a service provider. And got me thinking about some of our clients like Titan Casket, guys who provide caskets, coffins online, because they are not just viewing it as a transaction, as that product, and it is part of a wider process or a thing that is going on in someone's lives, they can then focus more clearly on everything that goes around that product. It doesn't need to actually be specific about the product. It's about delivery, about the process, about the post-purchase care, all those things. And I think when you start off with that mentality, I think it actually makes it easier to see those things that other brands that are more transaction and just about the product and so much as possible that don't see. And I think that was a bit of a sticking point for me. It's like, this is why he's open to it, because he sees it as part of a wider process that's going through, opposed to buying another thing that's going onto the credit card.
Yeah. No, and you can even flip that on even on the conversion rate optimization side. If you start to think yourself more as a service, you're going to use things like quizzes, but not as a gimmick quiz. You're using it as social proof. Not social proof. You're using it as expert proof that you're guiding them through the sales process.
Yeah.
I was on a call with a bike company yesterday, and they've got premium bikes, but they're all in different sort of phases, and that's probably a terrible way to describe the bikes, but different areas of where you could use the bike and why you would use it. But ultimately, you were just getting to a website and you were just going, click on the sale page. Like, well, hold on here. You don't even know why I came to the website. Am I looking for an electric bike? Am I looking for a BMX? Am I looking for a mountain bike? Do I need a two-seater? Do I need to carry kids? There was none of that like sales process walkthrough. And I think what a lot of people don't understand about that quiz is that you can use that thing to be your sales assistant that's standing at the door, go, hey, I'm here to help you. Would you like me to help you walk you through our best recommendations, answer these few questions, as we'll do it quite naturally, boom, boom, boom. At the end of it, present it to them and go, look, I listened to you. Here's what you answered me. These ones match 5 out of the 6 things that you, unfortunately, we didn't have something that matched all 6 of yours, but here's 5 out of 6 that matched. Which one would be a compromise for you at this point? Or you go, here's other ones that match 3 out of 5 or 3 out of 6, I should say. They might fit your bill, but maybe the ones above this are a little bit more beneficial. And you can split your collection page up to accommodate that, and you can add in the copy, and you can add in their little points on those key variables or features that they needed into the copy above that collection to show that you fully understand, and that's why you've presented them. That's why they went through this whole process of the quiz to get through the door and actually, sales assistant at the door, take them to the till, say, this is in your basket, here we go, check out.
And I think, the other thing is like on that point as well about sales, like when you go into a shop and you have someone who asks you good questions that clearly understands the product, you can replicate that with your quiz, because you can ask some shitty questions on quizzes that don't really mean anything, and that it is just a play to try and get more data on yourself. But if the questions
you're asking,
sorry, what's your pet's name?
What's your pet's name? It's not a pet store.
Yeah, exactly. What's your inside leg measurement? But it's like the more intelligent questions you ask, you're actually better selling then, because you're showing them, oh, okay, these guys are the experts, because I wouldn't have actually expected them to be asking that question. Or, even equally, if you ask a bit of what feels like a left field question, if you explain the results, why you've asked that, and what the recommendations off the back of it, that again, I think gives you a bit more gravitas and a bit more ability then to go and sell.
Yeah. No, I just the stuff Pedram dropped today was just, it's the stuff that we constantly banging on about. We constantly saying, like, you need to do this, you need to do that, and look, I get it. There's loads of strategies and how to do it. website. So I can't bash the other ones. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But I just love the fact that it was almost validation for what we do, because I'm going, this guy gets it. This is how he's growing his business.
Mhm.
This is awesome. So yeah. Anything else from your side on that?
No, look, yeah, as I say, great guest, great episode. We didn't talk about goats, unfortunately.
Tell me about this goats thing.
Oh, mate, I went out for dinner with Pedram a few weeks ago, and we were talking about life and long-term plans. And we both basically talked about the fact that eventually we would like to both have goats each. So yeah, we talked about pygmy goats and all that kind of stuff. So any other goat fans out there, let me know. If anyone wants to send me any goat-related products, Andrew from Bearkind, I'm looking at you for some socks and goats on, please.
I know somebody that sells goat milk soap.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, some people might know we work with goat milk stuff who have lots of goats. So I would like PJ to send me a real life goat, but I'm not sure how that would get through customs, but it would be quite funny. Anyway, on that note, should we talk about the Ecom Collab Club?
Please, I am desperate to find out, and I'm sure those people that have got FOMO like me would love to know what went down at the Ecom Collab Club yesterday. Did you keep people outside for too long and make them cold this time, or was that
No.
issue in the past?
I mean, that was a thing in the past, and you know, in some respects, I was kind of hoping for something visual to be able to shut the fuck up. That would be quite funny. It didn't actually happen yesterday, so that was in a way a good thing. But I think, look, in terms of yesterday, what we did is we tackled both quantitative and qualitative data. We had about 130 people in the room, which is great. The first panel that was done with Nathan was looking at the quantitative side, and it was nice because we had a real mix in terms of the panelists there. So we had Hannah from Conjura, who was talking obviously from their data tool perspective and kind of insights there. You then got Danya, who was previously a Dry Drinker, so non-alcoholic beer company. We had a lady from a very well-known yellow-based brand that we are not really allowed to talk about, but hey, there we go, department store, you'll get it if you're okay. And then we also then had basically other people then within that panel who could then kind of comment on different areas of it. I think the initial conversation about quantitative data, it started going very much down the route of things like CPMs and ROAS, which, you know, is typical, you know, when you initially start thinking about the data side of it. And I think what all of the brands agreed on is that from a CPM perspective, there've been a lot of pressure on them. I think in terms of using that data, when we got a little bit deeper into it, what was evident is that there was a very mixed, I guess, perspective on kind of using that data. It felt like to me, like what they were saying is that internally within those companies, some of them, you know, were looking at it and then using it and taking action on the back of it. For others, it felt like it was, well, we've just kind of got to suck this up. And for me, that is, I think, that's one of the biggest problems, I think, in data in general. It is very easy to accumulate the data. But like Hannah was saying from Conjura, you know, what you've actually got to do is you've got to use it in a way that's meaningful to the business. And if you don't do that, then it is a complete waste of time. And that's why a lot of people, when they think about data, think, oh, it's just a time sap, because they never get past that point of obviously that implementation. I think, you know, the other thing that kind of definitely struck me about the brands there is that there is a different appetite for different people for data within internal in terms of the brands themselves. You know, I think definitely sort of, you know, the CMOs of this world and the marketing directors, there's definitely appetite there. I think the thing that kind of came across though is that when it comes to kind of CMOs, CEOs, and CFOs, is there is often a difference in perspective about what is important there. And we started talking, for example, about conversion rate yesterday, and about, you know, the fact that, look, there is sometimes, you know, there's not even a care in the world about AOV, when ultimately all of those three people should be, because ultimately it's, you know, your profit driver is going to be connected to that.
That's I mean, it's something we come up. I mean, even with the name of our service that we do, conversion rate optimization, and I hate it because it says optimize conversion rate. It's not. It's optimized customer lifetime value. Now we've tried to change that term with our marketing, it doesn't resonate, but it's conversion rate optimization isn't just for conversion. It's for everything. It's all your growth levers.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, even last week we asked conversion rate or average order value, and I did lean to the conversion rate, but it was very heavily caveated and contradicted when I said average order value needs to be a focus, because it's all about your business life cycle and where you are. If you've got a website that is, for lack of better terms, it's shit, it doesn't convert, 100% that's going to be easiest lever to pull. Go and pull your conversion rates. But eventually you're going to get that thing dialed into a point where you're only going to see little incremental changes over that. You're not going to see big changes. That's the point when you go, okay, cool. Now, how do I pull that other lever? And it shouldn't be like, now how do I do it? You should have been focusing on this at some point, maybe an 80-20 rule, 80% of conversion rate, 20% of average order value. But slowly but surely that focus needs to just shift up the other way, because you're going to dial that conversion rate in. And that's when you can really go and build all those strategies to boost your average order value. Now we're talking about bundles. Now we're talking about upsells and cross-sells. We're talking about post-purchase upsells and cross-sells. You know, ultimately, that's the gamification to build up that order. All those little things are going to be useful. But for a brand just starting out, somebody that isn't really making sales yet, remove all that friction about upsells and cross-sells and just focus on conversion rates.
Yeah.
So again, I'm contradicting myself, but it's all about life cycle and it's all about where you are.
Well, that's it. I was going to say, I don't think you are contradicting us. I think what you're saying is, it depends where you are in that business life cycle. And at certain times in the early stages, you will probably have to be a bit more black and white about the things that you focus on. Once you then, like you say, get out of that position whereby you do have a business that is functioning, that is driving revenue, then you need to then actually, you know, spread your eggs over the multiple baskets, rather than what the majority of people still do and go, we're going all in on insert thing. And now we're going to pick up, or we're going to restart, or we need to pick up SEO, or we're going to restart PPC. No, it should be consistent. It's one of the freaking tools that you've got to use to get people to buy shit. Why do I get so triggered every week in this? But never mind. Anyway, let me kind of continue on, because we then
Sorry, I really interrupted you with my passion.
No, not at all. I mean, I just don't want to get too het up about this, because I tend to every week. But the qualitative side was interesting as well, because
So I'm going to interrupt you there. So you went qualitative, but like for the people that weren't there, first time you weren't hosting at all, but at the event, strange.
It was bizarre, because, you know, like, everyone knows that when I'm on stage, I like, you know, maybe being a little more informal, or otherwise known as being a bit of a twat at the front of the stage. And I kind of had to be sort of semi-serious, which, you know, some of our clients, if you listen to this, you probably are used to me being a bit more serious. So it was kind of like, it was a bit more unnerving than being at the front. So yeah, I was sat on the panel with our good friend Rich Evans, who was hosting it.
Did he interrogate you?
I mean, you know, he made a few slurs against me about, you know, being from Birmingham and being overweight and being rotund and, you know, ginger, you know, the usual kind of stuff that he generally throws at me. And then in another event that he did later that day where he was presenting, he also continued then with those slurs. But aside from that, no, I think he was pretty kind and fair to me.
Well, they do say your true friends are going to give you the most shit. So.
True, very true.
Just means he loves you.
Yeah.
So cool. I've interrupted you now twice. Tell us all about the qualitative panel.
No, I'm used to it now, bro. It's fine. I mean, you carry on. Just keep on throwing them in. I'm ready for it. I got my boxing gloves on. But the qualitative side was good, because in that one, what we had is there was again, I think in the quantitative side, there was a little bit more kind of high level talk, you know, which is great. But I think in the qualitative side, we kind of got into nitty gritty. So Pedram was obviously talking about a lot of the things that he spoke about today. And I think the one that really kind of stuck out to me was Jodie, who's the MD at Pookie Lighting. And she has kind of had a career in kind of lots of different sort of lifestyle businesses, the one of which was actually Wedgwood, so the fine bone china company sort of, and like she was saying, you know, it's a 280-year-old company. The thing that she obviously was talking about was that because of the age of the company, the demographic of the company has actually had to change as well. And she said what was interesting is, that when you look at the messaging from Wedgwood when she was there, it was this perception still of on site about, look, you bring out the china at, important times of the year. It's only used for special occasions. You put it away, you protect it. You buy people stuff from Wedgwood when someone has a baby or they kind of, have someone christened. Because obviously the demographic had then changed, they understood that then from talking to customers, and the spin on that was actually changing in the sense of, okay, it's fine bone china that goes away because, it's special. They split that, and when it's fine bone china, it's actually very durable and can actually be used each day. So she was kind of saying, in that vein, is that when they went out and understood that better from the customers, and in fact, they heard the ways they were using it, they then used that as kind of the next sort of level of the marketing ploy to keep that customer tuned in. So I think, on that note, it's that thing here, not just basically resting back in your laurels and going, this is the way we've always done it, and this is the way we continue to do it. Things do need to change as the business evolves. And, you look at the high street in the UK, the classic examples of Woolworths. They did the same thing for years and years, sold everything, but didn't really sell anything to anyone. They continue with that track and never then obviously succeeded. And I think, you see it with a lot of the high street retailers that are going out of business now, because again, they're not listening to what the new demographic of the customer is saying. And they're still continuing to base something on maybe from 15, 20, 30, 50 years ago as, the heritage of the brand. Ultimately, if that heritage of the brand of what it's about doesn't sell anymore, you've got to change it up.
On that note, Jaguar come up at all?
Interestingly not. I mean, look, if someone had, I probably would have just put my fingers in it, because that, those discussions, all these marketing experts who gave their insight opinion, kind of frustrated me a little bit. But, I think if we can talk about it for a sec, here, like, ultimately, I look at a very basic business level. Are they selling cars? No. Do they want to sell cars? Yes. Should they try something different? Yes. So ultimately, and the noise that they create for that.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, nobody knows if they're right or wrong yet, right?
No,
because we don't know yet. It's not long enough yet to figure out if what this was an absolute genius masterstroke from Jaguar. Does it resonate with me? No. But that doesn't mean it's not right. Maybe they've done their research. Maybe they've gone, this is who our target market is. This is the car that we need to build. This is what we need to do. And they're going to come out flying on the other side. Nobody knows yet. Maybe in 3, 4, 5 years' time, people can then turn around and go, Jaguar made a mistake by doing this because now they don't sell cars. But you make a valid point. They weren't selling cars. So, got to try something. You can't just, definition of insanity. Carry on doing the same thing you're doing. If you're still failing, you're going insane.
100.
Cool. Any more on that, or are we done?
No, I mean, look, it was a great panel, really good networking afterwards, and I think, it was really good to see kind of everyone sort of having a good chat afterwards. And I think that's
hard networking working better now.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, kind of having it in in terms of the people that haven't been to Ecom Collab Club in London, the next one is actually on the 12th of March. So if you're going to come down, it'd be great to see you. But at the end, we have networking out at the front of the cinema. It's really a lot better than it was when we had it kind of in sort of a corridor area, which didn't work so well because it was quite tinny. But
how did we know? How did we know that it didn't work? Because we asked for customer feedback.
There we go. Point proven.
We figured it out, and it took us a long time to work it out. We tried different things, but yeah, we finally got it right. It seems so. This is awesome.
So, parting messages: qualitative data works.
Yeah. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us for the Ecom Collab Club podcast. We are back next week. And we're back every week after that, live. And you can always catch us. If you don't know that we are live, you can obviously catch us on Spotify, on Apple, and on YouTube. So check out all those places. Make sure that you like and subscribe, please.
Thanks for listening to the Ecom Collab Club Podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and join our community at ecomcollabclub.com/community.